The bye week is officially over. It's go time. Happy Monday, everybody. Hope you all had a great bye week, a great Sunday of non-stress football, and I hope you guys are ready for basically a stretch run here now. Basically 12 games in a row. No more bye weeks because of mini bye after the Thursday night game, but it's officially go time for this team. A lot of questions to be answered. Some inklings of those questions started to be answered today with who we kind of saw out at practice, which we'll get into in a little bit here. But look, the A topic of this week, and probably the A topic for the rest of the season, is going to be the quarterback position. JJ McCarthy, Carson Wentz. What do you do? We'll talk about that. Obviously a little bit later on here. Both are practicing. I guess that's the big number one thing to really point out here when it comes down to the quarterback position. But look, we're 3-2 after splitting the games overseas. A lot of ups, also a lot of downs, a lot of things to work on. But at the end of the day, if you would have told me all this stuff would have gone down before the bye and this team would still be 3-2, sitting here playing the defending Super Bowl champions who haven't looked that great as of late, I'd be saying that's pretty damn good, all things considered. So,
yeah.
Again, tough schedule coming up. We know that. We've talked about it at nauseum, even before the bye week. But it's time to get rolling. Time to get. Looks like this team got a little bit healthier, and it's time to put it all out there for the rest of the season.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, like what you said, like being like after this bye week, this week's gone by, 3-2 feels pretty good, I think. Especially with all the injuries we've had, and we're gonna probably go into more of that stuff. And then now, like especially Kevin O'Connell's press conference today, and kind of confirming what he mentioned last week about the players that were coming back, or whoever mentioned it last week. And it sounds like the guys like Blake Cashman and all of them are looking. Well, he's back practicing in his window or whatever. I highly doubt he'll play this week. And it'll be interesting. Obviously, Thursday we'll have our pregame show for that one, but it is interesting to see how that Eagles team is looking at this point with two like pretty upset losses back to back, which worries me a little bit. I don't even know the last time the Eagles have lost 3 games in a row. Obviously, that's a conversation for Thursday. But I guess just one thing that I just want to say, because it's something that I'm worried about in that one. And I feel pretty confident that the Eagles are going to run down our throat so hard, because in both those losses, it was like the 2 games they decided to start trying to throw the ball. And what better week than against us to get back to what they were doing that was working for them, which is running the fucking ball.
Right, but even when they have tried to run the ball, like Saquon still doesn't have a 100-yard game, I don't think.
Well, it's Saquon and Hurts, right?
Right, but last year, at this point, Saquon already had a couple 200-yard games.
Yeah. It's not the same as it was last year.
Yeah,
but like this, obviously the run to pass differential was in the first, what would it be, 4 weeks for the Eagles is way different than the last 2 weeks. I mean, you've gotten almost back to back, a 100-yard game out of Devontae Smith, not last week, but the week before, and then 100-yard games out of AJ Brown's this past week, I believe. Yeah, that's what he had, right? Or it's close to it. It might have been just close to 100. Maybe it was like 70 yards or something like that. But which was the best for him. And then I think Devontae Smith had 49 yards, I believe. So it's just been their most passing that we've seen.
Right. I mean, because that is the thing with that team. Like, in order for them to reclaim what they had last year, like, they do need to get that passing game going. Like, they're at their best when they run the football first, but are able to pass off of that. And this year, like, we saw it week 1, like, Jalen Hurts has almost been just a little bit hesitant to throw the ball sometimes. I think knowing how good they are.
They were winning. They were winning, though.
Well, 2-week losing streak.
No, I know. 2-week losing streak when they decided to pass more. Like it literally is Devonta Smith and AJ Brown started complaining in the tweets from AJ Brown. Well, now their stats have gotten up, but they're losing.
Yeah, but the way they were doing it wasn't necessarily sustainable, I don't think.
Probably not, but right now, all I know is I think they're going to be like, fuck you, AJ Brown, fuck you, Devonta Smith.
If there is a week to do that, it's against a team that can't stop the run.
Well, yeah, I know. Sure. So, I just feel like on top of there's something unsettling about the Eagles. Like, even though it's like yeah, you lose 2 games, you're like, oh, you're playing against the Eagles that's falling apart. But I'm like, the Eagles are gonna fucking, I don't know.
But
We'll
when it
see
comes
what
to the run
happens
game,
this
though,
month.
this right here is absolutely huge. Cashman at least back at practice. Does he play? I don't know. But if he does play
Nords.
against the Eagles, that'd be freaking huge.
That's new Nords, right? Like no, that's Northfius, right? Everybody, Nick's in here. Everybody's changing their names in here. What's going on over here? What's going on, by the way, everybody? Nick, by the way, let's go to the bull. Was hoping Gink would be good to not sounding like it, but yeah. Yeah, I know. It sounds like Gink was kind of the one, but on the plus side, it doesn't sound. It sounds like they expect him to be back.
Yeah, but I mean, because O'Connell said we have a time, or there's a time, or basically like we have him on his own time frame, but I'm not 100% certain what that time frame is. So
yeah,
I don't know. It is a bit concerning. Him and Aaron Jones. We haven't heard a thing about Aaron Jones since Aaron Jones is on the IR. So that
he's the one that we're definitely
that hamstring issue must be more severe than what we
right
had initially thought.
What's going on, Eric? Bob, hey Bob, I heard.
But also, he kind of had that same when he talked about Aaron Jones. He kind of had that same thing, like, oh, we don't really necessarily know the timeline yet. So
yeah,
I don't know. With hearing that on Aaron Jones and then kind of hearing that now on Van Ginkel after the bye week when he's already had a couple weeks not playing, I don't know. To me, it is a bit concerning, especially when you're dealing with a neck issue. So
yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know. I was surprised to hear him even say anything in positive about. At least that's how I took it when I heard him bring up Van Ginkel. I think he's going to be back sooner than later.
I hope so.
But Bob, speaking about people coming back, I heard you had some sort of surgery or something. Hopefully, all that went well. I'm glad to see you back in here, though. Did you say it was you? I don't know. Anyways, back to this. Obviously, as you guys see on the screen here, we're going to kind of go into what we think is the top fixes or what needs to change moving forward here, going into this Eagles game and for the rest of the season. And then, of course, this is the big week to find out who should start at least this week. I don't even know, depending on who they pick. And if it's JJ McCarthy, if he gets picked this week, I believe at that point you're moving forward with JJ for the rest of the year, trying to. If it's Wentz this week, I do think there's still going to be that little thing up in the air, whether or not it's going to be Wentz moving forward, assuming that Kevin O'Connell would end up putting that in a way of that JJ McCarthy just isn't quite ready to get back on the field after just starting practicing or whatever. But obviously we'll get into that more in a bit here. But yeah, man. Yeah. How do you feel after this bye going into this next stretch? Like, you brought up the 3-2 thing. We're getting some bodies back. I mean, the Eagles lost and the Lions lost. That's another big L the Lions took yesterday. I mean, we had a hard stretch in front of us, but a lot of these teams aren't really high at the moment. So how are you kind of just feeling going into the rest of the season off this bye?
I mean, it feels like the NFL's wide open. Like, honestly, like, has there been a team that has just been like nonstop dominant so far? Like, the Lions look like that for a few weeks. And again, you're going up against the Chiefs. Chiefs are getting healthier, especially on the offensive line. They were dinged up, but then the pass game, they're getting healthier. They're starting to figure that out a little bit.
But then they just lost to the Jaguars.
Right, for sure. So, I mean, it doesn't feel like there's like that one team this year that's like unbeatable. And even look at the Eagles. There's cracks starting to show again. Does Saquon have his get right game against our run defense? Maybe. But I mean, like, so there hasn't. So, I mean, if the Vikings just figure this thing out, and if JJ McCarthy can come back and just settle into that quarterback spot, and the defense can kind of figure some things out, like, I just think this team is poised to make a run, right? And then you're even looking at the short week against the Chargers. The Chargers winning yesterday, but that team isn't as dominant as their 3-0 start.
And they beat the Jaguars. They beat the Jaguars, right?
No, they beat the Dolphins.
Jaguars and Seahawks. Seahawks beat the Jaguars.
Yeah,
Seahawks are looking pretty good.
They are. That passing game. I mean, I know there was one guy who thought JSN was just a slot guy. I don't remember who he was, but he didn't like him very much in that draft class. No,
that's crazy. It's been a while.
That was you, by the way.
That was me.
That was you. You say, oh, JSN's okay, but he's nothing different than what we have in Addison. He's a slot guy. I don't think he's ever going to be a deep threat. Look at him.
How is he? What is his yards per in the air? I thought you were talking about someone else who said that. Yeah. Tell me what his yards in there. How deep is he going?
As deep as he wants to.
He's just getting
16.6 yards per reception.
What is it?
16.6.
That's pretty good. I haven't even I've seen his score. I've seen all this, which obviously I'm not
yesterday. 20, 16 and a half. This is going backwards. 19.8, 19.2, 12.9. So the first week is really the one that kind of drops that a little bit, drops the average there.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Damn, that is pretty good. Well, that's the thing is like I knew that he was going to be that guy who's going to get a lot of targets. Well, who knows? Who really knows? But he was that type of player that was going to come in and get a ton of catches and a ton of targets. But I have to go back and kind of look to see what that looks like. Because even, like, is he getting any deep touchdowns? Or deep catches? Like, is he beating anyone on the outside or anything like that?
Yeah. I think one of his his touchdown yesterday was kind of like that. I don't know. He's just been good, man. He's been good this year.
I mean, there's a chance I could have.
Anyway, we're off topic. But yeah, I mean, it's so yeah. There's just not a team in the league this year that just feels like you can't beat them. Is kind of what I was getting at there. Even like the Rams now, like they look good for a couple weeks. Now they lose Puka, and how's that offense going to be?
That hurts me. The Bills.
Yeah.
Who did they?
Even look at the Packers. Like everyone thought the Packers was unbeatable force. They beat the Bengals with Joe Flacco by 7 points yesterday. So it's like, or maybe it was 10 points, but that game was close at the end. So it's like, I don't know.
The Bills lose to the Patriots.
Who was the Patriots?
The Bills beat the Bills lost to the Patriots.
Right, exactly. Which Drake May, by the way, is looking pretty damn good. But yeah, I mean, it's just. Yeah, I don't know. It just feels like this team is getting healthier now. If they can just get it figured out at the quarterback position and on offense, I mean, this team can make a run. And I mean, look, the schedule isn't looking as daunting as before. Yes, it's still tough teams. I don't care how the Eagles have looked in the past. I know that was kind of the discussion we were having earlier. Like, it doesn't matter how they're looking in the past, just knowing the fact that they're probably going to try to feed Saquon against us. Plus, they do have Jalen Hurts, who can also run the ball. So yeah, the schedule is still tough, but you feel like there's a shot. Because, I mean, it's that's why they say any given Sunday, right? So, I don't know. Again, the fact after everything that happened early on the season that this team is still 3-2 and has a shot, like, I'm feeling pretty damn good. All things.
Yeah. No, dude, 100%. And we'll kind of, again, it's kind of just feels like it. Well, there's two things. Comes down to the quarterback. The other thing, I think, we're going to get into it in a second here. I know what. Let's just jump into all of this. So we're going to go into our top 5 fixes, or just the things that have not gone well that need to go well for those things to happen, for us to go into this stretch, starting with the Eagles and then Chargers. Is it Lions after Chargers?
Yes.
And then Lions.
And then Baltimore. Look at Baltimore. Like, Baltimore's dinged up.
Without Lamar, Baltimore seems trash.
Even with Lamar, they weren't looking that good. I mean, Lamar is holding on to the ball far too long.
Yeah. I mean,
some of those games he was taking, like,
they've only won game this year.
Lamar,
right?
like, things.
Yeah, but there was like, even in that Bills game, like, obviously they allowed the comeback, but they were putting up points with Lamar. Without Lamar, they're not like even putting up points. Like Cooper Rush is, he's not it. He's not it.
No.
But anyways, so we're going into our top 5 things that need to be fixed moving forward here, starting at number 5, and that is just urgency. This comes all the way back to the idea that I've mentioned many times on this show, that if you just had Kevin O'Connell could go into every game like he's already behind, we'd probably win a lot of games, because he's got to be up there, arguably the most successful coach in his sense. He's been one in just overall play when you are behind in games, and in his play calling. People talk about his play calling all the time, but his play calling's always fucking great when we are trying to come back in games. So it's just like, how can he have that same attitude in the start of the game? AKA, how can you just come out with some urgency? How can you come out like, we need to go score? Like, one thing, for instance, yesterday, which obviously Dan Campbell ended up being right on, is we need to score at least 30 points if we're going to win this game. But I like that. So you're going into the game already knowing, like, we need to score 30 points. And if we don't, we're going to lose to the Chiefs. That's the kind of urgency that I like a coach to come into with that kind of mindset, and you're coming in here to go score early. And then on Kevin O'Connell, it's just like urgency throughout the game too. Not having those middle quarter lulls and things like that, and just keep playing like you're just keep stacking points on the board.
Yeah. Well, and the good thing about with O'Connell recently here, I mean, I guess recently, as the most recent, we have that Browns game. That was, I think most Vikings fans agreed. That was probably his best called game so far this season. And look, it does all depend on the healthier roster. You understand the health of that offensive line for sure, and who you're going to have out there at quarterback. But I liked that getting the ball out of your hands quick, which then can lead to some deeper shots down the field. I do think we need to lean into the run game maybe a tad bit more, and hopefully with the offensive line getting healthier, we'll be able to get some more push in the run game. But I definitely agree. And I mean, we've seen it. We've seen early, like, his scripted drives are amazing. Like, so we've seen the effective early game play calling. You would just like to see that more consistently. Like, it feels like that he has like a mixture of trying to control the ball while also taking the deep shots, and they don't seem to mix very well at times. You kind of know what I mean? Like you almost feel like he's trying to control the clock early, and he doesn't necessarily think in that way of he doesn't really think in that here's how many points I think we're going to need to score to win a game like this, right? It's more or less like I'm just going to run my offense, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but we'll punt and play defense. So it's almost like a mixture of two different type of philosophies, but we know at the end of the day he's an aggressive-minded head coach and an offensive play caller. And you have the weapons to be that way if your offensive line can hold up. So I guess that's the biggest thing too remaining to be seen is the health of that offensive line.
Yep. And I think these are really good. Rush defense, dumbass penalties, have to tackle better, be more creative on offense, which is basically kind of that goes in with urgency here. Because that's part of it. Like when he's playing urgency, like his play calling is creative. He starts using TJ Hawkinson in the middle of the field all of a sudden type of shit.
And like a lot of times with him, like he'll do a drop back on first down or a screen. And then we're both sitting there watching the game like, okay, we're running next. And then we run. Then it's like, okay, 7-step drop. Okay. And we're punting. Like that's exactly what Nick's getting at here. It's just it does feel like sometimes there's a rhythm to how he does things.
Right.
And then
I think that a lot of that has to do with,
and then I don't know. It's sometimes it does this, and that's the thing. Early on in the season, I think we talked about that multiple times. It doesn't really feel like it doesn't really feel like there's any sort of a rhythm to the way that they ran the offense.
Yeah,
it doesn't feel like the offense really ever had a rhythm to it. And
which feels like the urgency brings all that, like, or him feeling like anytime we're behind or anytime we feel that kind of urgency, it feels like that kind of stuff just comes together. Like,
for sure. Yep.
So I put those,
like the runs are effective, and a lot of that I think does have to do with kind of go no huddle, and obviously you're not going no huddle all game long, like that just doesn't make sense. But if you mix in a little bit of that early on, or getting out of the huddle quick, like there's things he can do, and we know he's an effective play caller. This team has a ton of weapons. Use them effectively.
Yeah,
like I love it when he gets Justin Jefferson the ball early. Like that opens up everybody else in the offense, especially with Jordan Addison back healthy and Hawkinson. If that offensive line's healthy, he doesn't have to just stand there and block, and he can get out and do his thing. So I don't know. It's just, and so I think it's a big one. It's just play it's almost like you said, coach every game like you're behind.
Yeah, that's what he needs to do. And one thing I wanted to bring up too is like that's the one thing. Like, it's like the Justin Jefferson thing, and because that's the thing is like, and another thing with the Lions too, like St. Brown had 3 catches going into the second half of the fourth quarter, whatever, and then he got like 7 catches in a row. You kind of do see that with Justin Jefferson, or in the beginning of games is kind of like, which I do like, get Justin Jefferson the ball early, but then it's very scripted. Like that's the script, right? So after the first couple drives again this year, it feels like it drops off. Like Justin Jefferson goes an entire quarter without a catch type of thing. Yeah. And it's those kind of things. That's another thing too. Not just urgency, but with Kevin O'Connell is also like, it's just be creative after the first 2 drives, after those script. I know there's a stat or someone put a graph out today, and I believe it had I think if I read it correctly, it was kind of like which quarterbacks or which coaches kind of are not coaching as well or play calling as well or doing or scoring as many points outside of the first couple drives. And Kevin O'Connell's pretty low on that list as far as the coaches that happens. Though if you came out with the same graph and says what coaches have good play calling or scores the most points when they're behind in the most important parts of the game type of thing, and I feel like see Kevin O'Connell high on that as well. But
I mean, and that's O'Connell's thing. Be your best when your best is required. But maybe let's not get to the point where your best needs to be required at the end all the time. And I think this is a good point kind of a good point by Kinetic here. And I think something that you can use effectively with JJ McCarthy is, and I get O'Connell likes his offense. He likes his deep drops. And a lot of times there are guys schemed open. Wentz hasn't seen them in the past. But I do think something you need to do with JJ McCarthy is use his athleticism. Get him out of the pocket, manipulate the pocket on rollouts. And that's kind of why O'Connell doesn't want to play McCarthy till he's 100%, because he said his athleticism is such a huge part of his game. So yeah, it's like you do need to adjust your offense based on how things are going. We saw him do that in the Steelers game or the Browns game with the dinged up offensive line, like quick plays, stuff like that. But with JJ McCarthy, he's so damn athletic and he can throw on the run. Get him out of the pocket, like scripted or like schemed plays where he rolls out, move the pocket, get him in more comfortable positions. So use his traits to his advantage with the talent he has around him.
Yep. So hopefully we see a lot of those things, but let's keep on moving on. And that's the number 4. Keeping Kevin O'Connell on the screen here. That's penalties. We lead the NFL. Well, up until the bye, we led. I'm assuming we probably don't anymore because we are on a bye, but we led the NFL in penalties against us. Obviously, it's tough to win games when you're constantly losing the penalty battle every single time. If you're the worst, if you have the most penalties in the entire NFL, am I frozen right now?
You are. Keep talking. You're good.
Okay. Yeah, if you have the most penalties in the NFL, obviously, I mean, it's even hard to ask to be a playoff team if you have the most penalties in NFL. And a lot of them are, like, as Nick mentioned earlier, they're stupid. There are a lot of, it is like delay of games and shit like that, where you're just letting the time go completely down. Like, it's almost like going back to urgency a little bit. It's like you're not playing with any urgency sometimes, where it's just like I don't know. And some of that might be on Wentz too of recent games. But that's another thing too. Just stupid penalties. We need to fix that. That's a big one. I mean, if you flip that, if you go mid-tier on penalties in the league for the rest of the season, it should be significant on our success, even though we're still 3-2 at this point.
Yeah, and like, I think we're one of the most penalized team in the league, definitely within the top 3 to 5 teams. And look, the games where we've had the most penalties and it hasn't really hurt you was against the Bengals and it was against the Browns. Well, guess what? Your upcoming schedule, I don't care how they look, that Eagles offense, as talented as it is, the Chargers, who have 2 solid receivers and Justin Herbert, solid offense there. Then you got the Lions and you got the Ravens, and Lamar might be back by that time. Like, look, you're not going to be able to put yourself behind the sticks or give the offense shorter first downs or extra drives with these penalties. You're not playing Jake Browning and the Bengals or Dylan Gabriel and the Browns every damn week. So you got lucky in those games that Joe Burrow wasn't playing for the Bengals or that the Browns weren't a competent football team offensively. Like, with these penalties and the teams you have coming up next, you can't have these because you're not going to get away with them like you have in games past. So yes, the penalties, number 1, need to get cleaned up. But like you said, it's all just a bunch of stupid pre-snap. Like, I remember against the Bengals games, three false starts at home against an inferior opponent. Like, we can't have that. It's unacceptable. And you have a couple games coming up at home here. So it's just, yeah, you got to be, and again, it's all discipline. It's discipline and it's smarts. And that does come down to coaching. And again, Kevin O'Connell, I love Kevin O'Connell. I think he's an amazing head coach. Still think he's a great offensive mind. But the penalties have to stop. And especially, and again, like I said, especially against the talent you have coming up, because you can't put yourself in disadvantageous situations against the teams that we're playing after the bye week here.
Yep, 100%. And just to throw a couple other things in here, I like, and this goes back to probably urgency and just Kevin O'Connell's play calling, and this is something that Nick brought up as well, because I mean, obviously I mentioned being the worst at penalties. I believe we were at least the worst in third down conversions as well, and just kind of bringing that back up and that kind of goes back to play calling, is just making sure that's something that needs to be fixed. Like, it's another thing that it's tough to be a good team in the NFL when you can't convert on third down. And in a lot, like you kind of mentioned earlier, it's kind of, oh, you might start with like a little screen and then a run and then a long developing play that ends up not working out and you get sacked or whatever it is, and then it's fourth down. So that's another one too that needs to be brought up, that definitely needs to be fixed there as well. I don't know if you have any thoughts on third down.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's another, like, that's a big one. Like Nick said, you're killing those drives with penalties. Because look, if you're down to a 3rd and 5, maybe even a 3rd and 6, and you're in plus territory, like, you can do something quick, or you can even take a shot. If you go into that play knowing, hey, we have 4 downs to get this. If we don't get it on 3rd, we're going for it on 4th. So that is part of it too. Like, just using your play calls to be more aggressive for going for it on 4th down and plus territory. And a lot of that, and like the best way to make sure that happens is to not put yourself in bad positions with penalties on 3rd down, just like Nick said. So, because I think that is, I mean, obviously it's the new age of the NFL. If you're in plus territory and 4th and reasonable, you're probably going to go for it. Or 3rd and reasonable, you're going to have maybe a run in there or a quick pass, just in hoping you can pick up another couple yards to shorten that 4th down. Mm-hmm. So really, all of this stuff does come down to penalties, not putting yourself behind the sticks on offense or on defense, allowing a talented team to say, hey, screw it. Like against the Eagles, 4th and 6, or let's say it's 4th and 6, right?
Mm-hmm.
Get up to the line, offsides, 4th and 1.
Right.
What do they do? Push. So it's like,
right,
against these teams, you just can't put yourself in those positions. So it's just 3rd down penalties on offense and on defense, whether you want to go for it on 4th down or stop someone from going for it on 4th down.
It's fucking killer. Super.
It is, absolutely. And like I said, especially against the Chiefs, where we know if they get it to 3rd and 3, they'll push twice and try to get
the Eagles. Yeah. Fuck though. That's why I'm like, I'm so glad that they lost, because I had Saquon Barkley, and to push 4 fucking times in a row pissed me off so much. Anyways, sorry. That's actually, it literally is probably the reason why I lost. If he scores a touchdown,
so I'm okay with that.
if Saquon scores a touchdown that game, I would have won fantasy last week. Anyways, another thing that needs to be talked about before moving forward here, is just the turnovers of lately and not winning the turnover games, especially from the running back position. And that's kind of, recency bias. Well, actually, I mean, very recent. I mean, Steelers, Jordan Mason puts the ball on the ground, ends up being out of bounds. Browns, he puts the ball on the ground again. And then also Scott does that too. And luckily, somehow, I think we lost the penalty battle, and the turnover battle, and still beat the Browns last week. But like, for the team that I think we ended up 2nd most turnovers caused last year. It hasn't really happened. I think we have 1 interception this year. That one Isaiah Rodgers to the house was the 1 interception this entire year so far, and we're just losing the turnover battle most weeks here, other than against the Bengals that I can think of.
Yeah, didn't I see? Doesn't Mekhi Blackmon have 2 interceptions?
Yeah, he has 2 interceptions. Yeah,
I was watching him yesterday a little bit.
He's looking pretty good. So one thing about him, because one thing other than this past week, so he had a pick 6 2 weeks ago, another interception last week. But up until then, I think he allowed the most. He was allowing the 2nd most yards per reception, or the 2nd most receptions out of any cornerbacks in the NFL too. So even though he has those 2 pick 6, it sounds like he hasn't been. And I even I went on to Colts Twitter, and it sounds like he has not been good. Up until maybe things are turning around. He's got those 2. Obviously, if you make those kind of big plays, it's pretty big. But I think Xavier Howard was number 1, and number 2 is Mekhi Blackmon as far as like allowing the most interceptions or the most yards. I forgot what it was. So that's why everybody's talking about Mekhi Blackmon. But I have to go kind of look to see if it's, because I like don't get me wrong, I like turnovers. It's a big deal. But I mentioned this about Byron Murphy last year. It's like, I like turnovers here and there. 7 interceptions obviously is great, but I'd rather have the guy that no one even wants to throw the ball towards him because he locks that dude down so much. So that's the one thing about the Mekhi Blackmon situation, is it doesn't sound like he's been that good, but he's had 2 interceptions, and one of them was a pick 6. But maybe last game he was good. And to be fair to him as well, he was out for an entire season. He could just be ramping up and getting
wasn't that kind of the story that year, like Trayvon Diggs had 10 interceptions or something? Everyone said if you actually go look at him, he's really not playing that well. Like, he just got lucky to get some of those picks.
Well, that's why obviously big. I mean, those are such big plays. Like 1 interception could fucking change the entire game, right? So I do think it's fair, but it's just like, to what extent? like obviously a guy has 5 interceptions in a year but allows the most receptions in the NFL. It's like, well, first off, if you allow the most receptions, that means you're getting like if you're the most targeted cornerback, odds are you're also going to have the most most chances for interceptions too. So I don't know. And some guys get a lot of interceptions. They don't allow a lot of receptions either and stuff like that. But I do think like if you're the most targeted cornerback and you're also one of the top in causing turnovers, I think it's worth looking into more and making sure that, I don't know. Those could be some sort of empty stat. Not completely empty, but you know what I'm saying. But yeah, so overall turnovers, it hasn't been good. The last couple weeks, we've been losing that turnover battle. Something that just needs to get fixed. All it is the running backs pretty much more than anything.
Yeah, I mean, because turnovers are what derailed the 2023 season early on. So
yeah, so interceptions but to target ratio would be better. Yeah. So that's what you'd have to see. That's why it's so. But that's what obviously you post a video of someone getting a pick 6 on Twitter or anywhere on Twitter, and you see another interception. Then you don't see locking players down, but you'll see a pick 6, and it's so easy to jump on board with things like that. To be fair, but every squirrel finds, quarterback, throw it back. Yeah, exactly. So that's the one thing about the whole Blackman thing. I know it's just so easy for everybody to jump on like the Quasi thing, whether it's fair or not. Sometimes it's fair, sometimes it's not. But as far as like the Blackman situation, you see an interception and you're like, oh, there goes another one. Though I think some of the Harrison Phillips thing, I do, and we'll get into that in a second here. I think it's fair.
And I mean, I guess I think in reverse with like the Jared Verse thing with Dallas Turner. Because, like, I mean, it's like, I get it. Jared Verse, again, you want to look at the stats. He's got the sacks, but he's also a different type of edge guy. So it's like, you can look at it in multiple different ways.
Yeah. But to be fair with Verse, he's actually still good.
Yeah.
That's true. I did hear that.
He's a different type of player than what we were looking for when we took the Dallas Turner.
Yeah. Which was more of like an actual
hybrid type of
outside,
hybrid, like a
3-4 outside linebacker,
like a Van Ginkel.
Yeah. But speaking of that, I haven't seen Versus stats recently, but it sounds like some people were actually saying like his pass rushing and stuff wasn't. He had the sacks, but they were saying like, I think someone showed a stat that Dallas Turner was beating him. So I don't even know, but I don't think he's having the same amount of impact this year. But still, I don't know. Still good. Keeping on. Barber, my guy, I see you. What's going on, Barber? Hey, Adam's in here too. What's going on, Adam? That's my guys right there. Let's go. All right, keeping on going. This is the big one here, and that's injuries. Obviously, I mean, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. No excuses. I give excuses when it matters. I love the mindset of no excuses. Like, it's good to just live your life saying no excuses. You're probably just better off doing that. But sometimes, like, how many injuries do you need to get to be like, all right, we're getting kind of fucked right now? And I feel like we're in that similar situation. I mean, you lose Donovan Jackson, who's on this thumbnail right here. JJ McCarthy, your quarterback. Any other quarterback gets hurt. I mean, Carson Wentz is dealing with the shoulder injury now. So another quarterback, Aaron Jones, Andrew Van Ginkel, Blake Cashman, Brian O'Neill, Ryan, like we can just keep going CJ Ham. Obviously he did come back, which was nice the week before. But man, the injuries have been brutal. And I do think, and the fact that that Browns game is actually so insane when you think about that. I don't care if it's the Browns. I don't care what team it is, where you went in there with 3 backups on your offensive line, including a 4th one eventually when Christian Darrisaw sat out. You lost the penalty battle. You lost a turnover battle, and you end up winning that game. It is quite people need to weigh stuff like that better. And as far as like a predictor for the rest of the season and thinking like, hey, we might be okay, especially if you can figure out the penalty thing, but we might be okay when we get some of these guys back. And that sounds like the case for us. Last week we heard that we're going to get some of these guys back. It has been confirmed. Blake Cashman is back on the field. Obviously his window's open. I don't know I think that doesn't really necessarily mean he's going to come back this week. But then you have Donovan Jackson back practicing, Jurgens back practicing, obviously JJ McCarthy's back practicing.
I think O'Neal was back out there.
O'Neal was back out there?
I thought I heard that.
Oh, I didn't even know. I don't know, but that'd be freaking huge. Andrew Van Ginkel, it doesn't sound like he's back out there. Casey took it in a different way than I did, I think, a little bit. But in my opinion, based off of what Kevin O'Connell said, I thought it was just good news that he expects Andrew Van Ginkel to be back eventually or at some point. Obviously, that's not our favorite thing to hear is eventually. But it didn't sound like this kicking the rocks down the road type of deal. What is it?
Kicking the can down the road?
Yeah, that's what it is. Can down the road, right? Yeah.
Kicking the rocks?
Kicking the rocks. Yeah, I don't know. It's the same. What's the difference between a rock and a can? Can't hit them all. Yeah, Nora says O'Neal is practicing. Yeah, was out there. Okay. Yeah, I even missed that.
And they said Van Ginkel was kind of off to the side on his own, just working through his stuff.
So that's huge. So reinforcements are coming back. And I don't we see Brian O'Neal? I don't even know. Who knows this week? But, I mean, you have potential to get 6 people back in the next week or two. And that is massive, especially if you roll with JJ McCarthy. Well, no matter who it is.
Looking around that offensive line too. Getting Jackson back is going to be huge when O'Neal comes back. And then what you decide to do at center. I mean, obviously, Kelly on IR. I wouldn't doubt if we don't see him for a long time. But you have Jurgens, and that's the thing. Now you have a choice to make because you have Jurgens and then you have Brandel, who, all things considered, played pretty well at center. So
right, yeah, I agree.
I'm feeling pretty damn good overall. About how that's set up.
Yep, and this is going to be a big one, man, and that's huge. I mean, getting those injuries, and not even just from a morale standpoint, just knowing, I know it felt like kind of like an early bye. We always get these early buys. We had to go overseas, all that stuff, but honestly, that bye came at the perfect time for us this year to kind of get healthy. Definitely going to the Eagles, who aren't looking great. That's got to be good for some of our players, I think, to know, okay, obviously, we have a good chance against this Eagles team. They're not looking that great. But just to know that you're going to be healthy and things are coming together. And I've said this before, that after this bye, man, it kind of, as long as we can stay healthy, it kind of, even though you're still 3-2 and that's good, it does feel like you could get like a fresh start to this season as far as just kind of the Vikings not feeling like it's a dumpster fire, even when we're 33-2, which I kind of get. It kind of did feel like that. It's just a really weird start of the season.
Yeah.
Any more thoughts on the injuries?
No, I mean, the bye week seems to have helped because, I mean, just based on that practice report, it's huge. I mean, I think to me now the most important one's going to be Cashman, especially going up against against the Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts type offense, which I guess goes right into this. I mean, that it's been an issue, right? I mean, our best game against the run this year was Chase Brown, who has sucked. Quinshon Judkins ran all over us last week. Kenneth Gainwell ran all over us the week before. The Falcons offense had 150 some rushing yards or something on us. It's just the run defense hasn't been good, and we traded Harrison Phillips. Does that? I'm sure that has an effect, but I think losing Cashman was huge. Ivan Pace has regressed pretty considerably.
Yeah,
where he can't really. His tackling is becoming an issue.
Mm-hmm.
So, God, I don't know. It's frustrating, and going up against a team that really knows how to run the football, and they have one of the best running backs in the league, who they need to get back on track. This could be a get right game for him, and then that opens up the pass game to where these guys have a lot of talent, and just have shown no ability to be able to stop the run. So it's up to I really hope Flores took this week and really dug into what our issues are. And I mean, Cashman back would be huge, first off. Right. But what if he's not back? You can't just say, "Oh, we got to wait till he's back." You got to have a plan in place. So,
yeah. And like you said, Cashman back's big. Getting Van Ginkel back whenever he can would be massive too. But it's just tough, man. This is the one, and I've mentioned it before. This is the one thing. Obviously, your quarterback situation. That's another thing, and that's just, we're just gonna have to kind of roll with that. But when it comes to stopping the run, it feels like it's just, I don't know what you can do. Literally the best thing, because even if like I've mentioned this too, even if Blake Cashman comes back or Andrew Van Ginkel, at the end of the day, they're second level players. These running backs are getting through the first level with ease. And I don't want to play every game where all the running backs can even just get 5 yards every time they touch the ball. And the problem with that is like, I don't know what you do, because outside of getting Blake Cashman back and Andrew Van Ginkel and hoping that does enough to stop it, I think you're just kind of stuck here with a defensive line that struggles to stop the run, unless you bring up a guy like Taki or something like that, who has been known to be good against the run, but obviously was on the practice squad for a reason. So I don't know how big of a jump that's going to do for you, because the guy that we need is a Harrison Phillips. That's what we are missing, other than like a true nose tackle, but a guy that can be, even at the very least, some rotational type of player. Because that's the thing. Like, if we were to go make a trade, it's not like we're going to go make a trade on this defensive interior for a guy that's can potentially start on this team. Like, we have our starters, Allen, Hargrave, they're your starters, right, and Redmond's your starters. So if you're making a trade, you're trading for a rotational guy who can stop the run.
I'm not necessarily convinced about that. I mean, because you have Allen and Hargrave, who when they came here, we knew they're not run stuffers. So, I mean, they're out there on pure pass rush type downs, right? And then I think they were expecting a little bit more development. I mean, we've seen Jalen Redmond have splash plays in the pass rush game.
Right.
We've seen the same thing with LDR. I think they were hoping that one of those two would have taken a bigger step in the run game. I don't necessarily I think that, I mean, why not add another, I mean, rotational, sure, but if you're getting a guy who you can put out there on first and second down, who's good against the run and can also get after it in the pass game, like, you can find those guys out there in the trade market.
Well, or you can probably go find a run. I mean,
they're all rotational, right? I mean, they all.
But like you're talking about a large amount of snaps are going to Redmond, Allen, and Hargrave.
But are they good enough against the run? If you want to get better against the run, sometimes you got to make those sacrifices.
Right.
Like, hey,
well, that's what
we think long term you guys are going to be great here, but right now with this team, you're not good enough against the run, so we need to fix that.
Yeah, even though, but Redmond's been, but that's a hard part, is like it's hard to, you're paying Hargrave and Allen, but Redmond's been overall probably the best defensive lineman we have on this team,
right,
at this point. So it's hard to, like, it's just not an easy.
Why not traded player TBD and Jalen Redmond
to do what?
To start on the first and second rundowns. Why not Jalen Redmond and then trade guy TBD?
Yeah, which is something that we can do. I think the part that sucks is that guy that we need is like a Harrison Phillips type, right? Like it's going to be hard to go get a guy like that out there and make a trade for someone that would make more of an impact there than Harrison Phillips would, I think, because like, you're not going to go pay, like, what kind of, I'm trying to just think of what money range of player are you willing to go do when you have 3 starters on your team and you're already paying Allen and Hargrave over $15 million a piece a year.
You make it work. You always find a way.
Yeah. But that's the hard part, is that you're making that trade for a guy that if you would have just not made the trade, was the best solution at this point for the defensive line. As far as you're going to go get a guy that's probably going to be worse than Harrison Phillips as an overall player.
I don't necessarily think I don't agree with that 100%. I see what you're saying though. Like, because basically it's like the whole thing of what we like, are we going to end up in the spot where it's like, well, damn, I guess we just should have stuck with Phillips in the first place. Like, there's very well a possibility of that, where they're just like, yeah, we messed up. Now we need to go probably get a paid draft picks, maybe more than what we got back for Phillips, for a more premium type player. And then, like you said, then try to factor him in with what we already have. But
yeah, exactly.
There's a way to make everything work. And if they think that that's what's going to take them to the next level, and I don't know, but also if they think like, hey, we don't want to make that move because we think, yeah, it's going to take our lumps this year.
Yeah.
But we think Redmond, LDR, Taimani maybe have that potential to become that run stuffer, then I think we're going to be just fine where we're at. Let's just eat it this year, see what we can do, try to make what we have work in the run game, get Cashman back, and then eventually kind of go from there. We'll see. And I think it all depends on where this team is at, win, loss, right? Yep, right here. Exactly this. What the record is by the trade deadline. Like, if we do what we did last year and we just boom, 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 a run of a 4-game win streak or something, and we're sitting there at 7-2, then You're probably like, okay, yeah, the run game still sucks, so we need to find a way to stop it. And then you're going to be more aggressive in the trade market. But if you're sitting there 500 football team, you're probably thinking like, hey, there's no point in parting with draft picks now, and we could get a guy in the draft or in free agency and kind of go from there. So I don't know. To me, it all depends on this post-bye. And this is the big thing. Like, if we don't get better at stopping the run in the next couple of weeks and we're still winning games, then you're probably going to be a little bit more aggressive.
Yeah. And that's the hard part I'm getting is like, how aggressive. That's why, like, I think we're just in a weird situation.
It's record
I think
dependent.
we're in a
It's really
weird
record dependent.
yeah, but still, like, I just feel like we're in a weird situation with that defensive line and the players that are there. Like, you're not, unless you're just like, all right, fuck Hargrave or fuck Allen.
Well,
Like,
you're not saying that though, because they're pass rush specialists. You're going to put them out there on pass rush downs. Like
but they're out there more than just. They're out there more than you're paying them for more than just pass rush downs.
Sure,
they're out there more than that.
But if you're not stopping the run, you have to make a change. I don't care what you're paying them. If you're going to put them out there on pass rush downs, fine. But you got to go find your guy to stop the run.
You can, I don't know. That's hard for me. That's hard to me. I just feel like you don't see something like that very often, where you find like a very significant, like maybe a run stuffer is different because if you got a guy that's just like, they're not as valuable as a pass rusher. So maybe there's a good chance that you could get a guy who's just really good at stopping the run at a decent price. That also is going to come in and not like, it's going to be like a pure, I'm talking rotational. I'm talking LDR. I'm talking about Ty Ingram Dawkins. I'm talking about this guy. And am I missing someone? No, those kind of been the rotation outside of the main three, right?
I think so, yeah.
So that's what I mean. And I think that will be good. I think you could go do that. I just don't know how big of an impact that will end up making. Maybe it will. I don't know. We'll see. I just feel like it's a little bit more complicated than, oh, you're winning a lot of games. Let's go get a defensive interior guy.
But I mean, but you're also probably going to be looking at a scenario where if we're going to make a trade, kind of like we were in the same spot last year. We talked about this last year, same position, actually, defensive line. Like you're probably going to be looking at it where like, hey, we can go get this guy and he's going to be a long-term piece on this defense. And then maybe next year you find a way out of the Hargrave, because I mean, I don't know I can't remember what the Hargrave, maybe you find a way out of a Hargrave contract or something and try to find some extra money. So, I mean, there's ways around it, but I mean, the number one thing is just hopefully during the bye week, Flores was able to figure it out. Like that's kind of what it all comes down to. It's like the hope is that in-house you're able to figure out the run game and at least make it serviceable this year. Because look, teams that can run the ball are going to find a way to run the ball, right? But like the hope is that you think you have enough pieces to be able to figure it out, to at least piece it together this year to make it a serviceable run defense. Like far and away, that's the best. That is option A if they can find a way to do it.
Which I think Blake Cashman and Andrew Van Ginkel being back is enough to make it a serviceable. It's just I feel like you're still just going to get some push on right at the line of scrimmage, but I think having them two will do enough to make it serviceable, so they're not getting 15-yard fucking jaunts every time or whatever. But yeah, so we'll see on there. But that's a big one because that's the thing. Like no matter what, everything we've talked about, like, well, there's kind of two things, and we'll get to number one here. But there's just kind of two things that just could be that problem no matter what. It's not penalties that you can fix or hold the ball. Just make sure you hold the ball for turnovers or injuries. Like, and then getting injuries back and even playing aggressive, and obviously play calling is something that could be a problem longer term, but it just feels like so far this running, especially on defense, has just been the Achilles heel, which kind of brings us to number one here. The number one thing is who's your quarterback. This is like a two-part thing where one is like, I think you want to know who your quarterback is going forward. So we're not sitting in this little thing of like, who's going to be the guy, like just commit. Hopefully, well, I think no matter what, if it's Wentz, it's going to be somewhat of a roller coaster thing. He hasn't shown enough to be like he's going to be the quarterback here on out. If it's JJ McCarthy, maybe not specifically this week because he did just come back to practice. I don't think it's the end of the world if you see JJ McCarthy not get the start this week. I think a lot of that will have to do with him not just getting limited practicing and reps and but if you do see JJ McCarthy be the guy, then you kind of expect that he's just going to be that guy going forward, and some sort of consistency from that position I think is going to be important regardless who is back there. And then the second thing is whether or not those guys, including JJ McCarthy or Carson Wentz, can get it done efficiently and effectively week by week, all those kinds of things too, which kind of brings me like the Achilles heel thing with the run defense. It kind of is on offense. A lot is dependent on your quarterback play as far as how people are going to be doing this year, as far as winning and losing games specifically for this year. But what's your thoughts on the quarterback situation? just how important it is, what you think
Right.
the Vikings are going to do, should do,
And again, I mean, this wouldn't be a Vikings football without a quarterback conundrum, quarterback conversation. And I agree with what you said. I think
Yeah.
the moment you decide to roll,
Mhm.
the moment you decide to put JJ McCarthy on the field, it's your final decision. Like, you can't bench him later in the year because he's not playing well. You got to let him take his lumps right out the rest of the season unless he gets hurt again. But I really do feel like that's the way that's going to go. And I would like to see that happen sooner rather than later. But also, you got to look at it from Kevin O'Connell's perspective. And he said that during his press conference today, basically saying, like, I want to see how he does throughout this week. But at the end of the day, I'm coaching a team to win a football game. And you can listen to his press conference and read through the transcript. And I mean, if you're on Twitter, you're already seeing it. There's multiple different people saying, well, I think this is what he meant. And I think this is what he meant. At the end of the day, you have a guy who in his entire year and a half career has practiced has had a full week of practice for only one regular season game. Because remember, the Falcons game had to step away for the birth of his child. Then he gets hurt. And now he's finally working his way back out there. So, and I know a big thing, like the big conversational point is because Kevin O'Connell said we need to work the fundamentals back up. And then also mentioning because of the injury, because that's his plant leg, we got to make sure he's comfortable with it all. Some people are taking that as O'Connell's not. I mean, and I think Alec Lewis may have mentioned it too. It's like he said, from what you can see, it doesn't look like the footwork and the fundamentals have really translated to the NFL game due to the speed. And it doesn't feel like McCarthy's kept up with it. But when you listen to O'Connell talk, I don't necessarily get that same vibe. Like, I don't get the fact that he's concerned about it. Like, look, and he said, and O'Connell mentioned it himself. Like, you got to remember, this guy hasn't really, when you really think about it, this guy hasn't practiced a ton. He hasn't had a lot of real game scenarios. And does that go back to, the issues with him not playing in the preseason? Sure. But it's just, it is the thing where, yes, the footwork does need to be better. And we've seen that when he plays. And I think a lot of that is better offensive line play, not being pressured as early and often as he was when he was playing.
Right.
And just tying, as O'Connell says, the feet in the eyes, trusting what you see and getting your feet in the right spot before making a throw. So, and a lot of that now, it's, can you still do all that? And he said coming into training camp, he said, like, I want to get him back to where he was coming into training camp. So the people that are saying, like, oh, O'Connell's never been happy with his footwork and his fundamentals, I don't see it that way. I think it's more of he hasn't had a lot of on-field practice time this season at all. And it's just now he's got to come back from the injury and work his strength, lower body strength back up. And just being able to know that he trusts his ankle enough and trusts himself enough to get those fundamentals down to make the throws that he needs to. So, long-winded way of saying, like, I think it's a lot of this just does come down to trusting the ankle and trusting yourself to be able to make the throws.
Yep. And that's the reason why, like, and that's what I was saying, like, this week, just the fact, and I think I mentioned this earlier. Yeah, I did. Just the fact that Kevin O'Connell did mention that that he doesn't know who the quarterback is going to be this week, that he'll let us know later on. I feel like if it was Wentz, if you're committing to Wentz, we would have known. They would have, why sit around and wait on
unless
that?
You're playing the games or whatever, but
yeah.
At this
But
point, there's no point in doing that.
No, and because then you're playing games with JJ McCarthy too. Like, you're playing, like, it's not even good for your rookie quarterback to just be like, I don't know what unless you're like telling him one thing behind closed door, and then in the media you're kind of saying something completely different. And that's the thing, is like, kind of when I was listening to that, because you talked about like people trying to figure out what's like
Spin
put
it
a
for content.
or not. Hey, whoa, that's not what I'm trying to do. Actually, kind of, but no. So that's why I kind of took it. I mean, he talked about JJ McCarthy quite a bit there, and I do think, like, if you were going into this week and if it was no brainer, Carson Wentz, when you're talking about a JJ McCarthy who's just practiced for less than a week so far, I think why sit around? Like, I feel like you want JJ McCarthy to be the person that is going to be taking over eventually. Otherwise, why would you just not mention that Carson Wentz is going to be the guy, or at least to some extent? But you're trying to wait out JJ McCarthy and his injury. And that's why if it comes out and Wentz is the starter this week, I don't think we're in that situation. We didn't figure out what we're doing moving forward. I do think you're going to get another week of figuring things out, because I would not be surprised if the Vikings don't want to just throw JJ McCarthy right out to the Eagles after having 1 week of practice after his injuries. But at the same time, if he's ready to go, I'm still with the Vikings to go ahead and do that as well.
And I think like some of this, like just reading through some of the quotes here, like Kevin O'Connell said he's happy just to see JJ back out there getting reps and working through the process of building that foundation back up. So the people that said like, oh, he said the fundamentals and foundation have never been there. It's like, I don't think that's true. Like you can take some things that he said and make it sound like that's what he meant. But when you read a sentence like that, building that foundation back up, I think that's more of just like picking up where he left off. Now, was it perfect? No, of course not. But getting the ankle to a good point where he can pick up from his fundamentals and development where he left off. Now, does that mean he's unplayable? Not at all.
Yeah.
It's just, and then, I mean, I don't know. Then there's a bunch of people taking this stuff, shifting it, trying to say things like, I think I even saw Greg Rosenthal I don't know if he still works for NFL Network or he used to, taking some of his quotes and be like, oh, this sounds like he's setting this up for a soft benching. I'm like, if it's a soft benching, he just says like, yeah, I mean, he's not there yet. And we got to.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I didn't get that vibe from it. That
no,
soft benching, because it to me, it was like, even like, it doesn't even when it came to Carson Wentz, it wasn't like glowing things about Carson Wentz. It was like, Carson Wentz holds the ball. There's a couple times where Carson Wentz held the ball for too much or too long and took probably too many sacks or whatever. Like, I don't know. Maybe he could be in a situation where he literally just doesn't even know. But even adding that is just, he also is dealing with an injury. JJ McCarthy, it could be fair that JJ McCarthy shouldn't just go right out there after just being back in practice for 1 week. And same with Carson Wentz with his injury or whatever. But it does sound like, because I was trying to throw this back into the Brosmer thing, which would be really interesting. But it is hard. One thing I got from the Kevin O'Connell thing is I do think Carson Wentz is probably in a spot that he would play.
Healthy enough to play.
Yeah, healthy enough to play. So yeah, it'll just be interesting to see. And I would not be surprised if you do just see Carson Wentz out there just for the limited time that JJ McCarthy is. But if you see JJ McCarthy out there, then I think there should be no questions whether you like it or not, that they're going to see what they have in JJ. And I still feel that, like, the soft benching thing doesn't make any sense. Like, why push it right now with, like, again, why push this whole—
I mean, I guess because I guess the other way you could look at it is if he does just come right out and say like, yeah, he's not ready, we're putting him on the bench, then people are going to start questioning like, oh boy, do you doubt that your quarterback's any good? Like, are you thinking you got the wrong one? Do you not trust him? And then it's going to start those conversations. So I understand. I do kind of understand O'Connell from a standpoint of like, let's just push all this down the road a little bit more. I mean, we don't need to worry about it now. He's just getting back to practice. We can push it down the road. But I don't know. I still just don't. You passed up on other quarterback options in the in the offseason.
Right.
You saw enough out of him to think that he's got it. He's got it in to be the guy. So.
And just answering this is why I'm saying that, like, the players already know who is starting, no advantage. Like, that's the thing, is like, I don't think that they know. That's what I'm saying. Like, everything that I heard, because I don't know how to say it correctly. I'm trying to think of it, but everything that I heard, it's like with JJ, I can't imagine that Kevin O'Connell's in a spot with JJ McCarthy where it's just like, oh no, he's 100% ready to go. Like, you haven't seen him practice enough, probably. That's why I don't think if JJ McCarthy is going to be the quarterback this week, I don't think he knows that yet, because I don't think Kevin O'Connell knows if he's ready. But I do think Kevin O'Connell's looking to see if he could be ready. And that's what I mean by what Kevin O'Connell said, is that the fact that he's looking to see if JJ McCarthy can be ready is the reason why I think that that's why I think we are going to go towards JJ McCarthy moving forward here, because, and I get it, like, keeping the opponents guessing and things like that, but I just, like, with the spot that JJ McCarthy is in with his ankle and stuff like that, like, I think it's really fair for Kevin O'Connell to be waiting to see if you even think he's even ready.
And if you're the opponent, like, I mean, preparing for Wentz is just like, okay, keep him in the pocket. He'll make a mistake if you pressure him. Like, it's nothing like, I don't know. I think preparing for Carson Wentz and preparing for a young quarterback at this point in Carson Wentz's career, I don't think there's that big of like, oh God, we got to worry who's going to be out there at quarter. Like, it's different if like, oh, Mahomes is hurt. Like, oh, we're keeping it under wraps. We're starting Mahomes. And you're thinking like, Mahomes starts. We got to be ready. Like, that's bad. Like, it's just, it's not, to me, it's not that type. I don't think there's enough of a competitive advantage gained to try to hide whether Carson Wentz or JJ McCarthy's going to be your starter this week. Like, I just don't see it that way. Because I don't look. I mean, I've said it since this happened, and I know against the Bengals, people are like, I don't want to see McCarthy again this year. I do not get excited about watching Carson Wentz football. I just want to see this. I mean, at this point, just win games. If he can just win games enough to where you have a big enough cushion to where you can throw McCarthy back out there and see how he develops, that's great. But I just can't sit here and get excited about talking about Carson Wentz playing football. I just can't do it. I can't.
Yeah.
It's so boring. Like I just don't. It's what we've seen in years past. Like the steady hand that'll win us some games. Like we've talked about it ad nauseum, and it's starting to have that feeling now. Like I just don't care. Like I want to see us win, but at the same time, like if it's Carson Wentz winning us games, we're gonna be right back where we were. It's like, oh great, we're gonna lose in the playoffs, and everyone's gonna start bitching about O'Connell again, how he can't win a playoff game. It's like we've got freaking Carson Wentz out there. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. You're better off at least figuring out what you have in JJ, or where he's even at. Like maybe he's so far away, and you have to make some different decisions this off seasons. But that's why I say overall, like that's where I'm just getting. Like to me, throughout the whole thing, it just feels like Kevin O'Connell is trying to see if JJ McCarthy could be ready potentially, and to be honest, I'm kind of with Nick here, where it just. I feel like they're going to wait, and it feels like it's going to be like he just has 1 week. I don't think he's completely ready just
on the field work
last week
in London.
Yeah.
And like where they said, oh, he might play scout team. Had that happened, I'd feel differently. But the fact that this is going to be his first week of real-time work,
right?
It just doesn't feel like he's going to be able to rehab the ankle more and prep for a defending Super Bowl champion team coming into your stadium. But then you got to look at it that way. Like if it's not this week, it probably isn't going to be on a short week against the Chargers, unless of course you're prepping him for the Chargers now. Yeah. But I don't know. So like that's why it does have that feel now to where if he's not out there this week, you probably don't see him until you go to Detroit. And then it's like, oh, well now he's on the road in Detroit, which you could say he's on the road where he's won a lot of games playing for Michigan. So
but but even that, I'm like, even the Chargers, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I do think, like, it just feels like the fact that Kevin O'Connell is he's waiting to see if he's ready this week. Like it would be so easy to just come out and say, he just got back to practice. He's probably not going to play this week, So it's just like splitting reps. I say he's out there for the church. And that's what, so I like, it just feels like Kevin O'Connell's waiting to see where, like, even the fact that you're waiting to see a dude that just started practicing just kind of, to me, shows that like you want him out there. Like you're seeing if he can be ready. He might not be, he probably won't be, but you're at least seeing if maybe he could.
Yeah.
That's what I'm getting. That's what it feels like to me. It's like you're seeing maybe JJ McCarthy could play this week, which just to me says a lot about what your plan is ultimately moving forward here. And I think it is possibility in what you said, where it could be as early as next week, which obviously on a short week probably wasn't the most optimal thing too. Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we all want to see JJ. I mean, I think for the most part, the fan base wants to see JJ McCarthy play. If you're telling me that you want to see Carson Wentz play, I don't know what I don't know. Like, I get it. He gives us the best chance to win right now, probably. But at the end of the day, we're just going to be in the same cycle we've always been in. So,
yeah, it's not good enough. It would have to be like the Sam Darnold thing. Like, it would literally, he'd have to be
winning us games. Like, he had a good drive. He had a great drive to win that game against the Browns.
That's just not enough. Like, you'd have to be like, I would need to 100% be like, oh, Carson Wentz makes us a Super Bowl contender. Like, everybody and I mentioned the injuries, the penalties, all that kind of stuff. We're 3-2, but I don't think anybody's out here feeling like we're just some legit Super Bowl contender. Everybody healthy's coming back. We fix some of those things. It would not be crazy. It's still in us, but Carson Wentz out there for sure it would not be like the difference to make it be like, oh no, we are a Super Bowl contender. And I'm not saying JJ McCarthy would be that himself. And like you said, there's a good chance that Carson Wentz would win more games than JJ McCarthy. But the big thing is you need to develop JJ McCarthy and see, like, what's more important is feeling like you can go into next season with and knowing that you have your guy in JJ McCarthy. I think that's like the most important thing we could probably find out this year is whether or not next year we feel confident rolling with JJ McCarthy in the most important 2 years we've had, in my opinion, in a long time, as far as like talent meeting, and contract, everything meeting one specific window. And that's why I think it's really important moving forward here. I think that's why we'll do that. And I thought we should do that no matter what, but I think we'd have a bigger conversation if you're seeing, Sam Darnold from last year level of play compared to what we are seeing from Carson Wentz, which is definitely up and down.
Yeah, but hopefully we don't move on from too early due to injury, because the Browns are that with Baker Mayfield. Look how that's working out for everybody.
But I want to win. Like, I want to win. Who cares who plays? I want to win playoff games. I want to win Super Bowls.
It's just right here, like
people. I want winning. We always win. I'm sorry, but winning isn't good enough. Winning regular season games, it just doesn't. It doesn't do it for me anymore. Like, it doesn't work for me anymore. At least not right now.
Right. Like
winning the Lions,
like top 5 winning in the top 5 winningest franchises in the league without a Super Bowl. Only one without a Super Bowl in the top 5 or however many that is.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know.
Well, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure. I bet Harrison Smith agrees with me now. I'm sure he does. I mean, if I'm Harrison Smith, it's my last season in the NFL. Yeah, I'm probably doing whatever you can to try your best to win. But no, I mean, that's just too short-minded, in my opinion. Like, we need to win. Like, we need to win a Super Bowl. Winning, because it's the same. Every single person that says, "Oh, I just want to win," are the going to be the same exact people who get mad that Kevin O'Connell hasn't won a playoff game type of situation. So it's just like, what do you want here? You need to build a team to win playoffs. You need to build a team to win Super Bowls. You might need that might mean sacrificing some freaking regular season game.
This team still isn't good enough to where you can win with subpar quarterback play. And the thing with JJ McCarthy is you're probably going to, I think at his best, you can get Wentz level play from JJ McCarthy while allowing the future of your franchise to learn on the job and develop.
Yeah. And saying at your best, I want to say that. I think that JJ McCarthy at his absolute best, it could be a step up above of Carson Wentz. But I would say
though. Yeah, I would say that is not as bad. I guess
if JJ McCarthy comes out and plays just like Wentz, that's a win for one of the youngest, was the youngest quarterback in the NFL, starting quarterback. But for one of the youngest quarterbacks in the NFL, his first season, if he came out and he played the way Wentz was playing up to this point, I think you're happy with that from a progression standpoint. And that's putting the bar pretty fucking low, in my opinion.
And I don't even think it's like sacrificing a year, because they came into the season thinking like JJ McCarthy we can win games with JJ McCarthy and a better team around him. Now, due to injuries, we haven't seen that come to fruition fully, but I think that was the mindset coming into this year. Is it wasn't like sacrificing a year. It was, hey, we can win games with this young guy. And worst case scenario, if we don't win games, at least we're putting him on the field to develop. So I get that sentiment of like, oh, we're kind of sacrificing or wasting a year to develop our quarterback, but I don't see it. I don't think the team thought it that way first, because you don't put all these investments in your team if you don't think, hey, we can win now with this guy.
And on top of that, you picked, no matter what you say, you picked him top 10. Like, there's a reason why picking a quarterback in the first round puts teams back years. You took a chance on a quarterback. You have to figure that out. Otherwise, it's not going to be good going to next. You have to figure out what you have in McCarthy. You have to see how far away he is. It's not just about developing. It's about figuring out how close he is to being that guy. Because otherwise, if you don't know that, you're going to go into next season with the same question, and we might waste next year developing JJ McCarthy.
Same offseason we just had.
Yeah. You have 2 years after this. You don't want next year to be the year that we develop JJ McCarthy. You want it makes way more sense for it to be this year than no matter what, it's going to happen. Nobody ever drafts a quarterback top 10 and says fuck him. Yeah, we're never even going to see what he has.
Well, Trey Lance, sort of.
Trey Lance, obviously injuries. Injuries on injuries.
Yeah.
But they tried. Without injuries, they definitely tried.
They did. I mean, so either you decide if getting him at 10 was good enough, or if you should have tossed in a first rounder and moved to 3 and taken Drake May. I don't know. We'll find out.
But that's the thing, is no matter what, you have to figure it out. Like, you can't. Nobody's drafting quarterbacks top 10 and not learning what they have in them. It's just it's not going to happen. It's just going to it's kicking the can down the road. Knowing what you have in JJ McCarthy.
The Kevin O'Connell failed quarterback school thing. It's a fun story that he can get these guys in, have them play good football. I just want to see what he can do with this young kid, healthy, with this full complement around him. And we got to remember, training camp preseason, JJ's favorite target was Jordan Addison. Guess we didn't have those first 2 weeks. Jordan Addison.
And
now he's going to have Jordan Addison and a better offensive line. So
yeah, it's way different.
It is.
I agree. Like
earlier,
the more it goes on, it does seem more and more that's a massive mistake to not get JJ McCarthy out there in preseason. I get the injury thing, but it's like if he's not comfortable, he got hurt. If he's not comfortable out there, I think that's even a reason for him to even get hurt, more likely to get hurt. Like the most confident players, I bet you, probably, unless they're really confident with their legs, I guess. But as far as just I don't know.
Because I guess look at Joe Burrow. Like he went out there, played all preseason, got hurt regular season. So it's just
but he needed the reps.
Injuries are injuries, man. They just happen, and you can't control them.
He needs the reps. JJ McCarthy needs the reps, especially.
Right. And I get it. Like you have a veteran-laden team. You're not going to put Justin Jefferson out there a lot. I mean, you're not putting him out there at all. Obviously, offensive line, you don't want them out there because you do have some older guys there. Like I get the mindset. I do, but I don't know.
Yeah, we got to do that.
But anyway, so probably Wentz this week. We're all team JJ.
Thursday. I'm assuming by Thursday we probably know who the quarterback's going to be,
or at least have a better indication. Yeah, I mean O'Connell will have, I think, 1 or 2 more press conferences by then. But
rather finish 6-11 with JJ or 11-6. First off, I 100% don't think that is going to be the difference between JJ McCarthy and Carson Wentz.
Yeah, and I guess if it's a playoff win.
I don't care about that.
Just so you can get the heat off Kevin O'Connell's back, maybe a little bit, but
that's literally all it would be.
But here's the thing. This is a different scenario than what the Giants have going on right now, right? To where they need Jackson Dart to win them football games. For Brian Daboll needs Jackson Dart to win him football games. Because if Jackson Dart doesn't win him football games, he's gone. Yeah. Kevin O'Connell and Kwesi, fresh off new contracts. I get it. Coaches have been fired early in their contracts before. I get that, but I think the Wilfs are sticking by Kwesi and sticking by Kevin O'Connell, and they want to see this plan play out here. For Kevin O'Connell, for the fan base will overreact to it. If JJ McCarthy goes back out there, wins one more game this year, the Vikings finish with 4 wins, the fan base will be in an uproar, right? Mm-hmm. But if you really sit back and look at it, the Wilfs are not going to budge on this. I think they understand, we took a young quarterback, we need to see how it plays out. So I think O'Connell is in a different scenario than where some other coaches are with this team. And again, I don't think with JJ McCarthy, I don't think you're winning one more game. I think you'll find a way to win multiple, right? No matter who you have out there at quarterback, but just kind of go with the JJ McCarthy example here. If we did go 6-11, it's not costing Kevin O'Connell his job. I think we can all agree on that, right? Yeah. So he has that luxury of knowing hey, I can put McCarthy back out there. As long as he develops, awesome. But I think he has that comfortability to know if we don't make the playoffs this year, it's not the end of the world because I'm on a fresh deal and they know what we're trying to get done here. And they trust me to know that I believe this guy can bring us there and we're going to keep working through it. Right. Yeah. And nothing, even when coaches have kind of given up on quarterbacks softly, they don't talk about them the way that O'Connell still talks about McCarthy. So look, at the end of the day, I don't think a 6-win season, if McCarthy shows development, is going to hinder this front office in thinking that we're not going in the right direction at all.
And first off, I 100% do not. I think it's a real possibility JJ could come play and win. I think it's a real possibility that JJ could come play in. What did you say?
1 yard rushing touchdown.
I think it's definitely a real possibility that JJ McCarthy could play and end up winning just as many games as Wentz, if not more. JJ McCarthy is a winner. That Atlanta game was bad, but you saw what he did in Chicago. He stepped up in the most important game and won a game. Carson Wentz did that last week, but the week before Carson Wentz literally he got us in a position to even have a chance to win, I guess, but he had his worst drive of the entire season when it meant the most.
Yeah.
So it's Carson Wentz is just, I'm sorry, but Carson Wentz, there's nothing to show me that makes the Vikings 11-6 and JJ McCarthy makes us 6-11.
Right.
So I just understand winning. But the worst thing that could happen is we go win a playoff game and all of a sudden we think Wentz is the fucking guy for next year or something like that. So I'm and then you're still wondering if JJ McCarthy can be the guy. So then we're just doing the same thing again when it matters even more because our team is supposed to be better. We have so many draft picks going into next year on top of that going into like everything you do this year should be to set up the next 2 years. I don't care if you sacrifice this year completely to give yourselves the best opportunity to win the next 2 years.
Mm-hmm. And this, I mean, for sure. I mean, we're pretty open here. We have our opinions, but it's all, if we disagree, that's fine. That's the whole point of this. It's all in good fun. So Wentz is fool's gold, pretty much. Look, I mean, and Wentz is just, it's basically O'Connell putting him out there saying, hey, don't screw this up. That's kind of it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, anything else?
I think that is it here. It'll be interesting to see. I would say if like, I guess just one, this is just my overall thought. This is what my guess is. Based on everything, I think you're going to see McCarthy move forward as the quarterback. My gut tells me that's not going to start this week. My gut tells me that you probably see, unless Wentz, the only way is if Wentz's shoulder is just worse than any of us know, and it really just comes down to like they're both hurt type of situation. So that's where I'm at. My guess is I think you end up seeing Wentz start this week, not because mostly just because JJ McCarthy just got back to practicing, but then I do think that you see JJ McCarthy take over the following week or whatever. Yeah. I don't think I literally do not think there's a real quarterback conversation as far as who's going to be the quarterback moving forward.
Right. Starting at center, Jurgens or Brandel. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. Brandel played pretty damn well. I mean, I think he gave up 1 sack, not a penalty or something, but did he give up a sack? Maybe he's had the penalty. I don't remember. But I don't know. That'll be something to decide too. Because obviously I don't think we're going to see Kelly for a long while here. But I think that'll just about do it for us. I believe the boys on Purple Parlor are live right now if you guys want to hop over and check them out. But we will be back on Thursday. Programming note, are we moving to 8 p.m. Central from here on out?
I was thinking Thursday we could probably still go 7:30.
Okay. But anyway, so keep an eye out for that. We will be back on Thursday previewing the Eagles game. Every Monday and Thursday for anybody new here. Always live, always talking ball. Absolutely. So thank you guys so much for joining. Have a great rest of your week. We'll see you guys on Thursday breaking down the game against the defending Super Bowl champions, Philadelphia Eagles.
SKOL Vikes.